everything you need to know about a Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle. The Chrysler minivan is the most famous minivan ever made, as well as the top selling minivan ever made. And this began way back in the 80s when Chrysler exec Lee Iacocca thought that these vans that were typically being used for tradesmen, if we put a couple windows and we put a couple seats in them, they could become the most practical, most popular family mover ever, and man was he ever right. You see, before the minivan, people were using station wagons to get around, and nobody wanted to use the same method of transportation that their parents were using, so out came the minivan. And 6 generations later, the Chrysler minivan is still leading the pack, not only in sales, but also in innovation, technology, safety, and capability as well.
I'm Jeff Batchelor, and I love cars. I love the look, I love the design, and I love the emotion that you feel. I love the history, brand stories, marketing strategy, and automotive trends. I love engineering, types of propulsion, engine specs, drivetrain, and performance, and I love the interiors, layouts, smell, and the gizmos and gadgets and bells and whistles. But I don't only love cars, I also sell them. If you love this content and want to chat about a purchase, text me at 416-523-6585. Now back to the video.
Now, I don't think you're gonna find anybody as excited to talk about a minivan as I am. You see, I've nicknamed myself the minivan man at my dealership because in my household, a household of 4 kids growing up, we not only had 1, but we had 2 minivans. So I know firsthand just how practical and how useful a minivan is for families of any sizes, whether it's transporting kids and carpooling other friends and families to sports and school and activities, whether it's hauling around garden supplies, lumber, building stuff, putting a motorcycle in the back of it. I know exactly firsthand just how practical and how useful these vehicles are. In fact, we've owned every single generation of Dodge Caravan, and this all new Pinnacle ultra premium luxury trim is the best that they've ever made, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about it. All right, now let's talk names and trims, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated, because way back in the 1980s, there was a Dodge Caravan, a Plymouth Voyager, as well as a Chrysler Town & Country. All 3 brands under the Dodge Chrysler heading were all creating a minivan variant. Through the years, the minivan changed its names, its trims, its branding, but now all the vans in the Stellantis lineups are branded as Chrysler. They wanted to distance themselves from Dodge. You know, Dodge sells horsepower and mopar and muscle. So now Chrysler is in charge of taking the minivan to the future. We have 3 trim levels in its 2025 version. We have the Select, we have the Limited, and we have the top of the line Pinnacle Premier model. Now, the Chrysler Pacifica has been around since 2017, so I know that we're just around the corner of an all-new van coming out from Chrysler, but until that happens, this is the best van, not only in the Chrysler lineup, but the best van in the entire van market. Now, in the minivan space, there's about 4 heavyweight contenders in here. We have the Kia Carnival, which is extremely impressive with the amount of gizmos and gadgets, technologies, and features they throw in the Kia. However, you still get Kia build quality, as well as it only comes in a front-wheel drive variant. Then we have the Honda Odyssey. Famous Honda reliability and performance, a fun vehicle to drive, but yet still only comes in a front wheel variant. Then we have the Toyota Sienna. The Toyota Sienna is an all-wheel drive, hybrid, monster. However, it's kind of like the Croc of the van market. As long as you don't mind being seen in a pair of Crocs, you probably don't mind being seen in the Toyota Sienna. I think the Sienna is absolutely hideous. However, in 10 years from now, you'll have a great resale that you'll be happy about. And last but not least is what I believe is the best van on the market, not only in creature comforts, value, ride quality, and looks, but when we see the end of this video, you're going to be sold on why there's only really one van to look at in the space. Now, if you're wondering what is powering your beautiful family mover, it is a 3.6 liter V6 Pentastar. In the Chrysler Pacifica, this does 287 horsepower, 262 feet-pound of torque, and believe it or not, will actually push this 4,800-pound beast 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. It also has an estimated tow rating of about 3,600 pounds, which means you can still tow a small camper or other items behind your Chrysler Pacifica. Now, there's also a second powertrain option, which is a plug-in hybrid variant, which is basically gives it an electric backpack. It gives you an all-electric range of about 50 kilometers, which is great for those that are just staying in town and doing small commutes. Go to the grocery store, just uses battery. Go pick up the kids from school, just goes battery. And then saves that fuel tank for the big long drives when you guys go on a road trip. If you are in warmer climates, or at least not in the Arctic, it's certainly an option to consider because of the massive amounts of fuel savings you get with that hybrid powertrain. Also, the torque in that hybrid powertrain option makes your Chrysler Pacifica all of a sudden feel like a race car, so definitely check it out. Lastly, your Chrysler Pacifica comes in two different variants, a front-wheel drive as well as an all-wheel drive. All new in 2021 is an all-wheel drive, which brought floods and floods of people back to the minivan market. That used to be one of the shortcomings of a minivan, and I had a lot of my customers choosing SUVs just to get that all-wheel drive comfort, but now the van comes in all-wheel drive, so one more reason to get back into the van life. Now let's talk exterior styling. For the last 5 generations of Chrysler minivans, I don't think anybody really worked in the exterior design department. The first 2 generations were boxy and square. The next 2 generations were round and shaped like a jelly bean. And then our 5th generation went back to the boxy style. When they unveiled the Chrysler Pacifica in 2017, this thing was cutting edge. This thing was head turning. This thing for a minivan was really well designed. They used very strategic design lines that make the silhouette of this vehicle look a little bit more like a station wagon or more like a car, with big pronounced lines around the wheel arches, big large wheel arches, and big large wheels. These proportions allow this minivan to blend in with some of the nicer looking vehicles on the market and not stand out like a boxy square minivan. Now up front, what's really nice about the Chrysler Pacifica is all models come with these standard LED headlights. Safety is paramount in all these minivans, so again, making sure that you've got great visibility is a huge priority of Chrysler. Not only are the headlights LED, but the daytime running lights, the turn indicators, fog lights, tail lights, reverse lights, and more. So again, if you want to be seen and also able to see things around you, the Chrysler Pacifica has got you covered. Now, other elements that you see on this Chrysler Pacifica are going to be all the brushed aluminum accents. On the select lowest trim Chrysler Pacifica, these elements are all going to be chrome. If we move up to the limited, then you can get an S package where all these elements are blacked out. But on this, the Chrysler Pinnacle, premium, ultra luxury Chrysler minivan, this has platinum brushed aluminum accents on the Chrysler wings, on the grille, on the surround, around the grille, on the inlets, right outside the fog lights, and also on the mirror caps. I think this is a really nice touch to put on a premium vehicle, which really adds a nice level of elegance. Now this one also comes in a Fathom blue paint scheme, which seems to be extremely popular among my customers. Now if we look down to the wheels, we've got these gorgeous two-tone 20-inch rims. For a minivan, these are really sharp wheels, really give the vehicle a little bit of a sporty look. And then along the side, again, we've got a beautiful accent spear in the same brushed aluminum. We've got trim around all the windows, which encompasses all the windows and this big, beautiful greenhouse that it has. They've gone and color matched the roof rails to that same brushed aluminum. And then around back, the Chrysler wings and the lower bumper have that same brushed aluminum accents as well. So Chrysler has done an incredible job with the design of this Chrysler Pacifica, putting very specific design lines on this vehicle to make something that is actually very large not look so bulky and beefy. They have a very strategic bulging fender flares on the front and rear wheels. We have a very strategic design line which comes right through the door handles and then wraps down at the back straight into the bumper. We've got a sloping roofline, and everything gives this Pacifica a very soft, smooth, and sexy look, if a Chrysler Pacifica can be sexy. Around back, again, we can see this giant light bar that spans from one side all the way to the other side, flanked with the LED taillights and turn indicators. Down below, we've got your trailer hitch, your 7 and 4 pin wiring harness, so towing is not an issue. Again, the design of this van is really, really sharp, and they did an amazing job with it. All right, now let's get to the good part, the interior. The moment you open the door, you are immediately greeted by this luxurious, stunning, and incredible interior. There's an aluminum door plate that says Pinnacle to remind you that you bought the best of the best. We get these gorgeous sepia, Napa, real leather, quilted seats for the driver, passenger, and all 3 rows. Plus, the doors, the dash, everything is of utmost quality and the highest end materials. Heck, even the roof is lined in Alcantara. This is a minivan that is guaranteed to impress. All right, let's talk about the doors first. We've got soft touch materials up top, accented with beautiful caramel stitching. The door handle is that same satin metal finish that we got on the exterior of the Pinnacle. And then down below, we got that same Napa sepia leather with the beautiful contrast stitching on it. I love that these doors have not only 1, 2, but 3 different storage bins on each door, and down at the bottom we see that the speaker has a Harman Kardon logo on it, which means that this minivan has got a powerful sound system guaranteed to pump. Moving on to the dash, we again have that same soft touch material from left all the way to right. It is also accented with that same contrast caramel stitching, and then the instrument cluster is flanked by that satin silver that I love so much on the exterior of the vehicle. The steering wheel is nice and simple, very classic design from Chrysler, and then when we move over to the infotainment system, it is very simple, very easy to use, complemented with a variety of physical buttons, keeping operating this van with an army of crying kids in the back ultra simple. And the last thing I really love about the design and layout of this Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle is in lower model Chrysler Pacificas, they leave most of this area between the driver and the passenger empty. But in the Limited and the Pinnacle version, they've actually set it up to have a center console very similar to what you'd expect out of a high-end SUV or even a truck, which was a very, very smart move if you ask me. Sitting in the cockpit of this Chrysler Pacifica, I no longer feel like I'm sitting in a minivan. I feel like I'm sitting in a luxury vehicle. And if that wasn't enough, let's touch back again on these seats. We have tan, sepia, Napa leather, quilted leather seats that are not only heated, but they're also ventilated, and they have memory seatings. Big, thick bolsters make you feel very well supported, and even the seat controls on the side have that same aluminum trim on them. They really thought of everything in this Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle. All right, so now let's talk interior features of your Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle. Now we get a very standard Stellantis steering wheel here with your instrument gauge control buttons on the left-hand side and your cruise control and adaptive cruise control buttons on the right-hand side. This Chrysler Pacifica comes standard with an entire suite of safety features. In fact, over 90 standard safety features. So we've got blind spot monitors, front parking sensors, rear parking sensors, rear cross path detection, forward cross path detection, automatic brake assist, forward collision warning, and so much more. So know that no matter what angle something is coming at this Chrysler Pacifica, it's going to have sensors and things to keep you and your family ultra safe. Now, when we look through the steering wheel, we also get a very standard 7-inch Stellantis instrument cluster, okay? The tachometer and the speedometer are still analog, but in the middle, in this digital display, we can see speedometer, vehicle information, our driver safety features, fuel economy, trip information, your music and audio, as well as any messages and the ability to set up your screen. All very standard stuff from Stellantis and all stuff that they do very, very, very well. Now, the Chrysler Pacifica came out in 2017, so they were doing big screens before anybody else, but they were still doing big screens that were seamlessly and sophisticatedly integrated into the dash. Now, this is a Uconnect 5 system, which I've reviewed many times. It's very user-friendly, very configurable, and has all the most essential buttons and features, very easy to find, located right on the hotbar. We've got your media, which again allows you to control your media. And again, we have a Harman Kardon sound system with an 800-watt amplifier and a very powerful subwoofer as well. From the front seat, we can also control the rear seat entertainment. So what is playing on the seat back screens located behind me. They also have a chance to control different media sources on those screens, ranging from Fire TV, USB videos, USB music, and then as well as anything that may be plugged into the HDMI. It's really, really nice to have the rear seat controls available to the driver in the front screen here. Same thing when we talk about climate. When we talk about the climate, I can control the driver and passenger side, the heated and ventilated seats, but I can also go into the rear controls and control all of that from the front. If again, I don't want to give access to the rear seat, I can simply lock it out, which doesn't allow the rear seat occupants to change the settings on any of those things. We've also got a very quick, beautiful, and easy to use navigation system powered by TomTom Maps. It works just like Google. Type in where you're looking to go and it'll pull up very, very easy. Again, another system that's very easy to use. And then your phone, we do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which does fill the entire screen, which is something else that I really like. When we go into the vehicle settings, there's some unique things that you're really going to like about this Chrysler Pacifica. Now, number one, if I've got my third row headrest up, but I don't have anybody sitting back there, it's very easy for me to get those folded down out of the way so that I can have better visibility outside my rear window. I also have the ability to get to this fantastic 360-degree camera system. You can see the vehicle parked in my driveway. It's high definition. I can do a fisheye rear view, a fisheye front view, a front view with a 360 camera, a rear view with a 360 camera, and lastly, a trailer view, which allows me to zoom straight into my hitch. But my favorite of all the options in this Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle is the family camera. That's right, it's an infrared camera that'll even see in pitch black. It allows you to look at all of the rear seat occupant seats. Now this comes in really handy when you have a rear seat, a rear-facing child seat, but in this situation, you're able to see my cameraman, Curtis, sitting there in the second row. If he was texting his wife, I'd be able to see exactly what it said on his text messages, or if I wanted to see which one of my kids in the back row was fighting first, I'd be able to keep an eye, like I had eyes in the back of my head, like our parents are always told us. Now, talking about eyes in the back of our head, not only do we have a rear view mirror, but Chrysler thought of everything. We also have this nice mommy mirror, which is a fisheye lens, which allows you to easily keep an eye on all your rear seat occupants. Now, while I'm up here with the mommy mirror, we also have controls for the power sunroof up here, a full shade that will cover both panels, as well as the ability to vent or open the glass panels. In between, we also have a sunglass holder, and then located right here is my ability to open the power sliding doors from this rooftop panel. I can also open my tailgate from this panel, as well as I've got some nice LED map lights too. Now, moving down the center stack, we have an aluminum dial to control your gear. We also have physical knobs and buttons for your volume and tuning your radio station. And then in between, we have hard buttons for most of your safety features. The ability for this van to park itself, parallel or perpendicular, turn on or off the parking sensors, control the lane assist, turn on or off the auto start function, as well as to turn off the traction control. Down below, 2 more buttons to do with the audio systems, the ability to mute the radio as well as to turn the screen off altogether. And then what most people love most is, again, hard buttons for your climate controls. Very easy to turn up the heat or turn down the heat, adjust where the air blows, and also control the climate temperature on both sides. And the last couple things to complete this center console is we do have our Blu-ray player where you can still enter an actual disc. So many SUVs and vehicles now have tablets and screens for the rear seat occupants, but they'll only play streamed media. There's no hard disc player still available. Also, we have 6 more power outlets, 3 more USB-C ports, and 3 more USB ports. And also, we have a wireless charging pad, which has a very nice cradle in it, which will stop your phone from sliding all over and allow it to stay connected to the wireless charging element. All right, now let's talk second row comfort and convenience. Now, the first thing I want to talk about are power sliding doors. If you have little ones, I don't think you understand just how useful and how nice it is to have power sliding doors. One, you don't have large opening doors that are hard to open when you're parked between other vehicles. So if you're loading and unloading a child seat, it becomes very, very difficult, and you end up parking in very strategic areas to make sure that you can get your car seat in and out. Secondly, if you've got little ones that are opening the doors on their own, well, you know they're going to open up that door wildly and smash it into a vehicle next to you. So having not only sliding doors, but power sliding doors eliminates both of those issues. Now, on these beautiful power sliding doors, I have paparazzi shades in here. I have got a power window, and I also have controls for my heated seats, which make hanging out in the second row oh so nice. Not only that, I also have a seat back entertainment unit. And on my seat back entertainment unit, I can watch DVDs, Blu-rays, stream online, even play preloaded video games against my co-partner here in the back seat as well. These screens have auxiliary jacks, HDMI jacks, and USB jacks, allowing the flexibility to load these with any content that you like. There's also a 3-prong power outlet in the second row, so bringing your Xbox or Nintendo with you on a road trip, you can actually play your Xbox on these screens as well, which is really nice. And now let's talk about the seats. We've mimicked the same adjustable, comfortable, heated, leather, quilted seats that the front has. These second row seats recline all the way back. These second row seats have armrests on both sides. I mean, these second row seats are very, very nice in the Pinnacle. Now, there is one drawback on the Pinnacle seats versus the seats you get in the Limited and the Select. The Limited and the Select have second row seats which stow and go right into the vehicle. In the Pinnacle, if you want to take out the second row, you need to actually remove the seats altogether. It's a very easy process, but again, you can't stow and go with your seats. You can just take them out and store them in your garage. In the second row, we also have our own climate controls back here to control the climate for the second and the third row. Now, if you have small kids, you can lock the windows, the doors, and the climate control access from the front so that people aren't changing them on their own. But again, if you've got a 25-year-old stay-at-home kid who's still living in your basement, you might still allow him to access those controls. Last but not least, for the second row, let's talk about the lumbar pillows that your Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle comes with. These are some of the nicest accent pillows I have ever seen. However, you only get two with your Chrysler Pacifica. I feel like if they knew who was buying Chrysler Pacificas, they would make sure there was at least one for every seat to avoid any fighting. Secondly, if you're not using them as a lumbar pillow, there's not really any place to store them. I wish there was an elastic across the back and maybe I could hang them on the headrest like I've seen in other vehicles as well too. So, really goes to show that Chrysler spared no expense making this vehicle feel ultra premium, but I wish the pillows did more than just be a pillow, or at least there was more so that not everybody fought over having the pillows. Now, I already touched on the vast amount of outlets that there are in the second row, but the front row has power outlets, the second row has power outlets, and the third row has power outlets. Now, the power outlet should not be outdone by the cup holders. The front row, the second row, and the third row have cup holders. In the second row, I've got a large one on my door, as well as I have a pull-out compartment here with two more cup holders here. In total, this 7-passenger vehicle has 11 cup holders. All right, now let's talk third row, comfort and convenience. And man, oh man, is there ever a lot of room. I've always said that a Chrysler minivan can fit 6 full-size adults and all their gear very comfortably and very easy. And I say that because even the third row is meant for full-size adults. You've got rear seats that are quite slanted, which allows you to have quite a lot of leg support and thigh support, even for big, tall people. You've also got seats that recline. So if I want to take a nap back here, I've got all the room in the world. Plus, I've got USB-C and regular USB power outlets, as well as my own HVAC vents here in the third row. But that's not all. I also have my own paparazzi blocker back here in the third row. One more very unique feature of this Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle is that it has a built-in vacuum cleaner. That's right, a vacuum cleaner with extensions that will allow this vacuum hose to reach all 4 corners of this Chrysler Pacifica. Hiding just beneath this little garage door, you also have all the different attachments for your vacuum. So whether you want a crevice cleaner, a brush tool, or whatever else it is, you can keep the inside of your Chrysler Pacifica Pinnacle all neat and proper. All right, and now to the most useful area of this entire Chrysler Pacifica, and that's the amount of storage that you get behind the third seat. We can open the hatch with the handle, we can open the hatch with the key fob, but we can also open the hatch with a quick slide of the foot motion behind the rear tailgate. Okay. Once inside here, we can see there's a very large storage cavity where I can completely disappear out of sight. Now that area is very useful not only in storing luggage once you have the entire vehicle full, but it also has a series of very useful hooks located on the back of the seats. When you load your groceries into the vehicle, you place the handles on these hooks and you don't have to worry about any of those bags toppling over or maybe any oranges rolling all the way up to the front and getting stuck under the driver's pedal. Now there's also one more very useful use for that area back there, and that is the stow and go seats, which Chrysler has become so famous for. With a quick press of the button, these third row seats will actually do a little bit of a cartwheel fold themselves down, roll themselves back, and actually hide themselves completely into the floor. When we have all 2 rows folded into the floor, you have a class-leading amount of space in the back of the van. Big enough to fit an 8-foot by 4-foot piece of plywood or drywall, again, really emphasizing the practicality and usefulness of the cargo area of your Chrysler Pacifica. All right, so if you're in the market for a vehicle that's going to make family life easy, take it from me. There is no vehicle on earth that is more practical, more comfortable, and more convenient than a minivan. And when looking at the entire market of minivans, it's red hot right now. If you've got an old minivan sitting in your driveway, it's worth more money than it's ever been worth. You see, back when I started selling cars, we literally had to pay people to take minivans off the lot, whereas now we can't even keep them in stock. This is the one and only Pinnacle that we have on our lot, and I grabbed the keys right away just because I knew it was going to roll off the floor right away. You see, some other minivans on the market as well have huge wait lists for customers because finally people have realized that you can get it all in one package. Don't stuff your family into a non-convenient SUV that doesn't allow great third row access and still leaves room for your kids to smash other cars with the large opening doors. You see, a minivan's got that all thought about. Power sliding doors, large opening, tons of room for your family. So guys, get it through your head. Everybody I've ever sold a minivan to has always said, why didn't I do this sooner? So why aren't you looking at a minivan? The Chrysler Pacifica does it all. It's luxurious, it's comfortable, it's packed with convenience features, and to me, it's the best value you can get. You can move your entire family in a Chrysler Pacifica for half the cost of a Cadillac Escalade and still have more luxury.